Finding the Way, Chapter 14. Good beliefs flow me to be the best I can be. Bad beliefs gird me into what I should fear. Spun bias in me, here at old thinking, which put me at odds with what is true. What is true is that going along with bad beliefs put a nation on the dole and into hopeless wars. What is true is being right, angry, and tough forms pushy brats declaring themselves in. What is true is a few brats made me feel vulnerable, out, and as unredeemable as those choosing an abortion or swallowing science's attacks on God's words, which had me on the victim to judge road to being as graceless as a latte drinking trio, smearing cats' drinkless poverty in a sermon formed as a prayer, and as judgmental as a public fit proclaiming me bad for sowing doubt in America's righteous war, Iraqi war. These two stories, which define this particular video, one of them religious, one political, jolted me, sullen, agitated, touchy, anxious, and needy, my interface long. Me, me, it was them that acted out. A Satan in me? Yes, it affected me. To go dark is to be possessed away from life's vibrancy that comes in etchings with spirit. Jolts is the way to refine attitude and faith, and parables and wordplay as teaching love, flow, and wisdom to navigate the unknown and unexpected, like Gaston's political meltdown in a restaurant. Add me in my war stories from the stand. This was after I returned from the Middle East and the war in Iraq, and I was explaining some of that, said we stepped into something deep, and it ultimately caused this yelling, screaming fit and a stomping out from a restaurant. And that is no reason for me to also let myself be trolled into fighting, in my case, his church. That is also associated with the second story here, uh, the story of an evangelization of a college gal, which was toned, edgy, and loveless badgering to extract an oath to love, rather than inspiring the hard work to grow a spirit ready for an ending that can come at any time. Watch out that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name. Many will betray and hate each other. Many false prophets will appear and deceive, causing the love in most to grow cold. The day and hour are unknown, yet like the days of Noah, they will be eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage the moment the ends come. So you also must be ready. To be ready is to grow good faith and a good spirit, strong, alive, with values, in life's flow, not spun into being pushy, intense, manipulative, dark, and attuned to rot, like these turkey vultures. Fortunately, life helps. It's Piper playing a joyous tune of blessings, even what is bad and ugly, like here, Gaston and Jenna stomping out of that restaurant in a fit. For that, let the rest of the relay team get together, become real, open, and caring. Seen in Cat Moms equating Gaston's eruption at me to a harsh prayer by Cat's rich cousin and two guy friends. In a call to her mom, Cat, about to graduate from college, complained about this attempted alien abduction of thought and of the hard work needed to grow toward the Sermon on the Mount's being perfect as God is perfect. Not that any of us can get there. Today, Kat complained through the phone, when I should be focusing on my last undergraduate finals, I keep reliving Ashley's praising the Lord for raising her family with trips, cars, and a bottomless credit card, while proclaiming me walled off from God's benefits due to your abortion to save a marriage, which he keeps pointing out didn't save anything. What can I say? Dad didn't want us, which had me craving a provider who makes me his whole world. And that had her bringing the two guys I once said I liked to pray over the poor deceived me, which drove me so stubborn. I became like them, nasty, pointed with a sharp tongue. And that set me shivering, jolted. and flashing on my dark emotions after the meltdown in the restaurant. Me needing to be jolted free of fuming at Gaston's political and personal rudeness that came with no hint of a religious creed, or Jesus' jolts to reflect deeply. If anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. He who loveth his life shall lose it. Then I flashed on Jesus' Sermon on the Mount as also jolting, beginning with, I do not take a jot or tittle from the law in what can be paraphrased as, the law says don't murder. I say don't be angry with your brother. The law says don't fool around. I say don't think about it. The law says divorce is just writing her off. Only the man gets to divorce. I say marriage is two becoming one, both real. The law demands an eye for an eye. I say turn your other cheek. The law says hate your enemies. I say love them. The law has you judging. I say stop it. The law enables self-righteousness. I say love. Be gracious and do the will of the Father. Yet that agitated a high priest into being as ugly as a toad suddenly in my face, as ugly as Gaston, Jenna, and three latte sippers, which had me embracing cat's vow to never ever take what they have in their heart into mine. And so I repeated a lesson, a deja vu calling me into the moment for the mystery of life, to inspire me to be impervious to human spin to take sides, political or religious, which is akin to a scalding stream of verbiage that bars me from the other side and what I need to hear. So knowing I am to listen, I flash on a story that has stood the test of time, which makes it worthy of understanding what it has to tell me. But the ugliness in those praising that story biased me. Then Cat Mom finished her story at that lunch, turned to face me, and unexpectedly asked me the question driving her daughter nuts. Are you saved? She paused, me jolted once again. From the attitude of the damned, anger, agitation, and anxiety over the muddy waters we each find ourselves wading. Are you saved? From Spin's gur-inducing ride to put on fangs, intense and savage, even grabbing guns to fight off lessons I do not want. Not calm myself so I can find what I have missed. Life's purpose is to grow a good spirit, resistant to human spin that is crafted to set me going, and others etching fear into rock, smearing the bad tribe, liberal science, literal religion, injecting judgments into prayers, and ignoring that a repeated lesson proclaims a bad belief as still the death of me. Jolted, numb, I saw that those lacking the essence of a man of love had me unwilling to enable their attitude, which blocked me from hearing any wisdom they might have. And that impacted my growing, living, and finding the way to truth. Yet while working on this screen, life helps. It brought me new life, in this case that fawn and the mom, which had me perceiving my verbal clubs as hurtful to my spirit too. And then I realized I viewed old and outdated as the bad side. Not that old was also creative, functional, and alive. Maybe not today's best practice, but still one of values, truth, fun, effort, and creativity. And that proclaimed old and new, like religion and science, hawk and dove, combine into a powerful engine to properly grow. Wisdom, that is the way of being in the moment, learning from those who went before me, nurturing a spirit that is good, and chugging forward to the wonder of old stuff, ancient words, and new discoveries, which is the way for me to flower into who I really am. not decay into non-listening and non-thinking, which happens to those defining themselves by a side, even a word like new, in this world where all things turn old and decay, drawing buzzards to life's fleeting nature, meaning there is urgency for me to flow, to be real, by integrating old wisdom with new knowledge as the way to journey through decay and rebirth. So, like the moon setting, my imminent trip to Doha and war had me descending into the stuff of mental chaos, being sullen, anxious, tepid, angry, noxious, where I still needed weeks for Cat Mom's Are You Saved to jolt me away from what darkens my spirit. So, to not go red over another's emotion storm, can you stop scurrying and climb to the light of truth even when truth is not what you want to hear? Can you grow to be able to listen to spin without being spun up for or against? So are you saved from darkness possessing you? And how do you let that happen in this life that continues to jolt?